Hey guys, welcome to another Late Night Thoughts. So today's topic I'm going to be covering is the Marvels, and namely that its recent box office results, which are basically all indications is that it is a massive bomb. And so I've got this article up here by Forbes titled, "Like It or Not, the Marvels has now bombed in every way possible." So I'm not going to read the whole article, but I'm just going to touch on a few things here and there that it namely mentions as some of the reasons, and also some of the scores that it's generating, and what exactly that means for this film. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on the whole thing. So they basically lay the blame at a few different things. This article does seem to be kind of playing cover for this film, like really trying to give it all the excuses it can. It mentions that there's a strike going on, so they didn't get to have the promotional press tour for the film. Mentions YouTuber jerks, crapping on the film prior to its release, and even mentions the superhero fatigue, which is obviously affecting the DC universe as well. So these are all things that definitely have factors to varying degrees, but the thing is that this has been a long time coming for the MCU, and by a long time I mean, this is for the last couple of years now, or basically since Endgame, if you want to go that far back, that this is where it's all leading to. And I feel like the Marvels is really the ultimate culmination and backlash to everything that they're doing at the MCU. We've seen the declines. We've seen, Ant-Man Quantumania vastly underperformed. We saw even Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that did well, but really if that film came out 5 years ago, it would have cleared $1 billion easily. And so you just seen diminishing returns and lack of interest, and the Disney Plus shows are just not performing well, not generating ratings, not generating income for them. So it's a disaster on so many levels. And the Marvels is, I'm not going to say it's a scapegoat, but it's really where it's all come home to roost. The chickens have come home to roost now, and the Marvels, for better or worse, is copying all of the backlash. And I gave my honest thoughts on the Marvels when I saw it. I didn't think it was the worst thing in the world. I thought there was some fun aspects to it. Has a lot of problems for sure, but definitely not the worst thing in the world, if you ask me. And now to touch on basically some of the areas of what it's actually achieved so far. So it had the lowest opening ever for an MCU film at 46 million. It had the lowest global opening of 110 million. The second weekend drop, this is the most mind-blowing to me. Normally, MCU films have massive second weekend drops, and there's two things to that. One is because they usually have huge openings, meaning everyone goes to see them the first week to avoid spoilers, and which leads to obviously that big drop in the second week. But then the other aspect of this is that, it had a very small opening, which means the drop theoretically shouldn't be as bad, because there's still a lot of people out there who haven't gone to see it. But that second weekend drop, more than anything, is the biggest indicator of where we're at in terms of interest in the MCU. It dropped by 78%. Like, films do not drop by that much ever. Even in the worst case of MCU films, it was like the high 60s. To reach into that 78, almost 80% range is unheard of. And it scores on Rotten Tomatoes 62%. On CinemaScore, it got a B. Blah blah blah. It's had, everything is working against it. It's a disaster on so many levels. But what do I think of all this? What would I make of it bombing like this? It tells me that if Disney does not make a massive change from here, it means they never will. We've been harping on for years about how they have to change what they're doing. They're going down these paths of wokeness, of identity politics, of trying to appeal to audiences that are not their core audience, trying to introduce characters that are not the most interesting characters in the world, and not even portraying them well, not giving them the right handling that they deserve in order to make them successful. So they've been misfiring on all fronts, but where do they go from here? It's like the only way that they can move forward, if you ask me, is they need to either wrap it up with an Avengers film, bring everyone back if you really need to, all dead characters, all the multiverses, bring everyone in, Tobey Maguire, Hugh Jackman, bring them all in if you need to, make it one big crazy ending, and then call it that. Or you call it right now. You put everything on ice, and you say and you admit your faults. The only way that they can get back into the good graces of the core fan base of Marvel is to admit their faults, which they never will. They're never going to do what I'm saying, but it's the only way they can do it. A bit of humility will go a long way. You know, it'll obviously hurt them in the short term, but long term, it'll do wonders. And not obviously not just apologizing, but then continuing the same thing, but apologizing and actually taking the steps to move in the right direction. But they need to put things on ice. Like I don't care what they've got. They should just scrap and take the write-off of all the things that they have in production. I'm talking Captain America 4, release Deadpool 3. Okay, fine, that's going to probably make some good money for them. But scrap Captain America 4, scrap all the other stuff, Kang Dynasty, all that crap. No one wants to see those things. There's not going to be any interest for them. And if this is not evidence of that, I don't know what is. But like, they've really got serious problems now. And, you know, another point they brought up earlier about superhero fatigue, like, and how that's been plaguing DC. That's plagued DC for years because they just had never had their act together. This never plagued Marvel. They were talking about superhero fatigue during the peak of the MCU. I'm talking phase 2 and phase 3. People were saying, oh, there's just so many superhero films. And that was just talk, that was just noise, but it never actually affected the bottom line. In fact, it culminated in the biggest grossing films of all time with Infinity War and Endgame. You know, there was nothing but excitement despite some of that noise back then. But now, you want to talk about actual fatigue? This is fatigue based on poor quality, not based on how people have different perceptions or suddenly dislike superheroes. No, superheroes are timeless. People always want to see a superhero. They're just not getting it anymore. Then we're not getting quintessential heroes, aspiring characters or hopeful characters that we want to see. We're getting rubbish and mediocrity at best, and like just things that don't mean anything within their own context and don't build on anything greater. So it's like, it's the worst of both worlds, you know? So it's frustrating for me that I think, but at the same time, I have this like apathy that's set in for sure, where I just don't even care anymore about the MCU. If I'm watching them, it's purely to review them and just to give my thoughts. But it's really sad to see how far it's fallen, and only in like 3 years it's taken. Like 2020 doesn't really count because of COVID, but so, you know, 2019 being the last big year that they had, but 2020 doesn't count. So if you're going to start from 2021, when they started to roll things out again, it's not even 3 years really that it's taken them this long to just completely erase all of the goodwill and all of the momentum that they had from phase 3, from the end of phase 3. So this is where we're at. They can lay the blame at whatever they want, but the fact is they're not producing good quality, and they're turning, more and more fans are being turned away with each new release. And I think that even speaks to the greater idea of, is a shared universe really a great idea? You know, it sounds like a great idea. It sounds like a really fun concept on paper, but it is such a hard thing to pull off. What the MCU did for 10 years, it will never be repeated. It just can't be. It's like we live in a different world now from 10 years ago, and people's interests change, people's attention spans have changed, their willingness to give their money to a film that they would have previously is no longer there. And yeah, as I was saying, this shared universe, it's like, I think start with one good film, scrap everything, start with one good film, and then take your next step. Don't build this whole universe before you even make your first step. And which I think the new DC universe with James Gunn is going to learn in a hard way. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it'll be a massive success. I hope it is. I hope that I love the DC universe. I hope DC comes in and kicks ass, but I don't see it happening. And Marvel, the MCU universe is a big reason for that. So yeah, that's my thoughts, guys. This bomb is just crazy when you really break it down. Just that second week drop, just can't get that out of my mind, how crazy a 78% drop is. But this is where we're at. So yeah, anyways, that's all my thoughts for now, guys. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it and got some insights out of it. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section below, what you think might be leading to this downfall of the MCU. I want to hear them all in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you next time. Bye.